The gift of time. Today is January the 5th and it's my birthday. I know birthdays are for kids, only if someone could explain this to my wife. Since morning she has been complaining that I have to go to work today. She is not happy about that. Even during lunch she hardly spoke to me. I told her it's just for an hour. I have a conference call with our New York client, but Carol won't listen. She says I love my work more than her and our little girl Abby. That's not true. I love them more than anything else. But making this conference call successful is important for our future. So I kissed Abby and Carol goodbye and left for work. There was a lot of traffic on the way to work, but somehow I managed to reach on time. My assistant Sarah was on her desk when she saw me. She stood up and said, "Happy birthday, Mr. Brooks." I smiled back and said, "Sarah, you know you can call me John." She nodded and smiled. I went to my cabin and Sarah followed me there and said, "Sorry Mr. Brooks, I tried calling you, the conference call have been rescheduled for tomorrow morning." I looked at her and said, "You should have started with that. I am out of here." "Bye Sarah," she smiled and said, "Bye Mr. Brooks and enjoy your birthday." On my way back I was thinking about Carol and how she wanted to throw me a party. I suggested that we spend my birthday at home. I didn't feel like partying. All I felt like doing was to sit at home with my family and have a glass of wine. When I reached home the lights were off. I unlocked the door and walked in to see the dining table was set up for two with a candlelight dinner. Carol was sitting there in her red dress. Oh, how beautiful she looked in that dress. She came to me, kissed me, and said, "Happy birthday, darling." Then she handed me a gift. I said, "Thank you, baby, but you didn't need to." She said, "Open it and see. I am sure you would love it." I opened it and love it I did. It was an antique-looking table clock. It looked amazing. I kissed and thanked her. I took the table clock and kept it on the table near our bed. I went back to the dining table and sat with Carol. I asked her if Abby was asleep and Carol said, "Yes, just tucked her in." We opened the bottle of wine and began to drink and talk. We spoke about everything right from the day we met and how Abby changed our lives for the better. The bottle finished and we opened another and then another after that. Soon I realized and I couldn't drink like before and was really sleepy. So Carol and I decided to call it a night, but before going into our bedroom I went to Abby's room. She was fast asleep. "She is my angel," said Carol. I looked at her and replied, "Our angel." I bent over and kissed Abby on her nose. I loved doing that. Her small sock was there on her bed. It was so cute, so I picked it up and kept it in my jacket pocket. Then we went into our bedroom and we started to kiss. As we lay down I took off my blue jacket and threw it towards the table next to our bed. I heard something fall, but I was too caught up in the moment to check what it was. Next morning I woke by sunlight on my face. As I opened my eyes I remembered that I have a conference call today, so I turned towards the table clock and it was almost 9 a.m. I looked towards my left but Carol was not there, so I called out, "Carol, why didn't you wake me up?" But she did not reply. So I got up. I had this bad headache. It must have been all the wine from last night. I went to the kitchen and I saw a note on the fridge. It said, "Have your breakfast before going to work, love, C." I do remember Carol saying something about taking Abby out this morning. Anyway, I was late already, so I rushed and got dressed. It was almost 9:30 a.m. now, so I locked the house and went towards my car. It was not there. There was a black car in my parking spot. I thought Carol must have taken the car and that these neighbors should at least ask before using our parking spot. Just then I saw a taxi, so I got in and left for work. Once I reached, I went straight to my cabin. I did not see Sarah on my way in. When I stepped into my office I saw that it looked different. I called out to Sarah, but she did not reply. I went towards her desk and there was this blonde girl sitting in Sarah's place, so I asked her, "Where is Sarah?" The girl responded by saying, "I am sorry sir, who is Sarah? Are you here to see Mr. Gibson?" I said, "What?" She again asked me, "Are you here to see Mr. Gibson?" I said, "No, what is going on? This is my office and who are you?" The girl responded by saying that her name was Bethany and that she is Mr. Gibson's assistant. She also said that this is Mr. Gibson's office and I may have come to the wrong floor. I was sure I was in the right place, but I still asked her again which floor is this, and she said it was the 12th floor. I looked at her and said then this is not Mr. Gibson's office, it's mine, and told her that if she does not leave I will call security. While I was still saying this, she picked up the telecom and called for security herself. I was surprised but thought, well, at least I can get this over with. Soon security arrived, but they did not look familiar. They came and went straight to the blonde and asked her, "Ma'am, what is the problem?" She told them that I was an intruder trying to enter Mr. Gibson's office. So I jumped in and said, "This is my office, look at the name on the door, what does it say? John fucking Brooks, doesn't it?" The security guards looked at me in disbelief. I turned around and looked at the door and it said Harvey Gibson. I was stunned, I did not know what to say. The security guys asked me to leave, but I did not respond as I was in shock of what just happened. So they asked me if I was okay. I said I was fine and walked out of the office. Outside I stood and looked around. Everything looked similar but different at the same time. Like the ice cream parlor across the street. The name on the board looked different. I didn't believe what I was seeing. I thought that I better get home. I took out my cell and called Carol, but I couldn't get through. The message I was hearing said, "You seem to have dialed a disconnected or wrong number." I dialed our landline number, it rang but nobody answered. So I got into a taxi and left for home. On the way, I was thinking of what just happened. I was sweating and breathing hard. The driver asked me if I was okay. I told him that I was fine, just in a hurry to get home. When I reached home I could see from the window that the lights were on. I was relieved to see that Carol and Abby were back, so I rushed in shouting, "Carol, Carol, come here soon." From the kitchen, a woman came out. She looked about Carol's age. She had a knife in her hand. She came out smiling and said, "You are home early, and who is Carol? Is it another role-play name for me?" I looked at her in shock and said, "Where is Carol? Where is my wife?" She looked at me, smiled and said, "Stop joking, come here and help me with chicken," and she went back into the kitchen. I went into the other room looking for Carol, but she was not in our bedroom. I rushed to Abby's room. Neither Carol or Abby was there. I rushed back to the kitchen and said, "Where is my family? Where is my daughter?" This woman turned around and said, "Josh, it's not funny anymore, stop joking." I saw the knife kept on the slab, so I picked it up and shouted, "Where is my family? Who are you? What are you doing here?" Now this woman looked scared and said, "Josh, what's wrong? Are you okay? Which daughter are you talking about? You don't have any children." I shouted and said, "My name is not Josh, it's John, and who the hell are you? Tell me before I..." She started to cry and said, "Don't you remember me, Josh? What's wrong? I am Kathy, we have been together for 3 years now." I said, "Look lady, for the last time, my name I not Josh, and I don't know who you are. Now don't move, I am calling the cops." She stood there, tears rolling down her cheeks, while I called the cops and told them there was an intruder in my house. While we waited for the cops to arrive, I kept asking her where my family was, but all she did was stand there and cry. Soon I heard the doorbell. I shouted, "In here, she is in the kitchen." 2 cops walked in, one with a gun in his hand. They asked me to keep the knife down. As I kept the knife down and the woman ran towards the cops, they caught her and asked me what happened. I told them that my wife and kid were not home when I came in and I saw this stranger in my house. One of the cops asked the woman who she was and what she was doing here. The woman, still crying, said her name was Kathy Robinson, and that she was my girlfriend, and that we were living together for the last 3 years. I jumped in, calling her a liar. The second cop asked me to keep quiet for a minute while they speak to her. Then he turned to her and asked if she can prove what she is saying is true. She said yes. "I have my ID." She picked up a handbag kept on the dining table and gave them her ID. Then she continued and said, "You can look around, there are plenty of pictures of me and Josh together kept in the house." The cops looked around and so did I, and to my disbelief, I saw pictures of her and me all over in the house. She looked at me and said to the cops that Josh always likes taking pictures and putting them up. I jumped in and said, I don't know how you have done this, but this is not me. I don't even know you, and my name is not Josh, it's John, John Brooks. I took out my wallet and handed over my driver's license to one of the cops. He looked at the ID and asked me to sit down and relax. He said he will take care of things. Then he asked the woman to step out with him. I could hear them talk. The cop was asking the woman if this had ever happened before. The woman said no, he was fine till last night. I went out early in the morning and I thought he left for work, but he came back this way. I walked out and asked the cop what's going on and why was he not asking the woman where my family is. The cop turned to me and said, Josh, don't worry, everything will be all right, we have called the paramedics. I looked at him and said, do you not believe what I am telling you? I just gave you my ID and you are calling me Josh. My name is John. The cop handed over the ID to me and asked me to have a look. The picture on the ID was mine, but the name was not. It said Josh Brooks. I dropped the ID and said, this is all a lie and I can prove it. I ran towards the neighbor's house calling him out. Rick came out. I looked at him and said, God, I am happy to see a known face. Please tell these cops who I am and who all I have in my family. One of the cops asked Jeff, do you know this man? Jeff replied, yes, I know him. His name is Josh Brooks and he and his girlfriend Kathy live next door. When I heard this, I lost it. I caught Jeff by his collar and asked him why he was lying. Both the cops caught me and pulled me away. I kept screaming, why are you lying? Why are you lying? Where is my family? Suddenly I felt a prick on my shoulder. I turned and saw this paramedic had injected me with something. Before I knew it, I got dizzy and dozed off. The cops and Jeff got me to my bed. The paramedic spoke to Kathy. He asked her if anything like this had happened before. She explained that this was the first time she saw anything like this happening. The paramedic then said that this could be a one-off episode due to stress. Sometimes we lose track of reality and Josh should be fine when he wakes up. If he is not, we will take him in for a few tests, and then the paramedic left. I slept like a log while Kathy and Jeff stayed up in the hall room and the cops were outside in their car. Kathy called up someone from the landline and said, Dad, can you come over, it's urgent. The voice on the other end said, is everything all right? Where is Josh? Kathy said, he is here, please come over, it's urgent. The voice said, I will be there within an hour, and hung up. I started to hear voices as I was coming around. When I opened my eyes, I saw Jeff sitting on a chair next to the bed, and as he realized that I was awake, he called out to Kathy. I sat up and asked, please tell me what is happening. Where is Abby? Where is Carol? Kathy came in and said, see who has come. This old man walked in. I could not believe my eyes, as it was my father. He said, Sonny boy, how are you? I looked at him and did not know how to respond as I saw my father standing in front of me, knowing that I had buried him over a year ago. He again said, Sonny boy, are you okay, or shall we get a doctor? I said, how are you alive? I buried you. This is not possible. You died. What is happening to me? He came to me and said, don't worry, everything will be all right. This is just all in your head. Don't worry, you will be fine soon. As I dozed off again, I could hear my dad tell Kathy, let's take him to the hospital, it's for the best. Next, I woke up in a hospital bed. My head hurt like I had a hangover. I was not sure what had happened. Just then the doctor walked in and asked me how I was feeling. I told him about the headache I had, and asked about my family, about Carol and Abby. The doctor said that the headache was because of a drug they found in my bloodstream. He even said that because of the drug I was hallucinating and may have formed false memories. I asked him what he means by false memories. He said 1 second, and he called in my father. My father stood by the bed, while the doctor asked me, do you know who this man is? I said, Dad, but it can't be him, he died a year back. The doctor said, and yet he is standing here in front of you. If he was dead, how this could be possible? Your mind is playing tricks on you. You have digested a strong hallucination drug which has reacted badly with you. But don't worry, all these false memories will go away in a couple of days and you will be back to normal. This was when I thought maybe they were right, maybe I was hallucinating. My dad came and sat next to me. He asked me how I was feeling. I did not know what to say. Carol, Abby, it all felt so real. My dad said, get well soon. Next week you and Kathy are supposed to go fishing with me now, don't forget that. I looked at him as I remembered that I used to go fishing with him, but Carol used to be with us. I told him I wanted to rest. He said, okay sonny boy, you rest it out, Kathy and I will be waiting outside. As I lay there I tried hard to remember Kathy, but all I could think of was Carol and Abby. Later that evening, Kathy came in to meet me. She asked me if I remembered her. I didn't know how to say yes or no, so I just said that I only remember fragments and nothing is clear yet. She said not to worry, she will stand by me and in a few days, everything will be fine. Next morning we went back to the house. Dad left for his place and Jeff also went home. Now it was only Kathy and me in the house. Everywhere I saw it reminded me of Carol and Abby. I went through all the pictures in the house and I couldn't find any with them in it. Most of the photos were of me and Kathy. My eyes caught the table clock sitting on the table next to the bed. I asked Kathy from where we got this, because what I remembered was that Carol gave this to me as my birthday gift. She said that I bought this back from one of my trips to the south. I asked her what she meant by one of my trips. She told me that I work as a photographer for a magazine and that I travel quite a bit for my shoots. I remembered that as a kid wanted to be a photographer, but I moved towards the corporate sector for a more stable career. By now I knew that she was not lying, but I was also not able to accept whatever was happening. Days went by, every day Kathy trying to remind me of the things we did. I could not remember any of that. All I remembered was the time I spent with Carol and my angel Abby. I even tried to track down Carol's friends and family, but it was like they never existed. Kathy even helped me every time I said that I could prove my memories were real. She would travel with me, talk to people I thought I knew, but no one knew John Brooks, they only knew Josh Brooks. The doctors said that all the memories were made up from whatever I experienced. That's why all the names were similar, like Kathy became Carol and Josh became John. I tried to forget and live as Josh, but I was not able to. Time passed, days became weeks, weeks became months. Now Kathy was even losing patience with me. She wanted me to remember her truth and forget mine, and trust me, I tried but was not able to. Every time she tried to come close I would think of Carol. I would feel like I was cheating on Carol, so I would push Kathy away. I didn't feel like talking to anyone, meeting anyone. I tried finding the answers to my problems on the internet, but all I would find would be some bullish reasoning like time travel, aliens, and multiple universes. Everybody had a theory but no proof or any way to help me understand what was real or not. One day Kathy asked me to clean my cupboard, saying that I had only been wearing the 3 pairs of clothes I had kept out. So while she was watching TV in the living room, I started to empty the cupboard. Underneath a pile of shirts and t-shirts I found a blue jacket. As I was checking all the pockets I came across something in the left pocket. I took it out and it was a sock. As I saw the sock I knew it was Abby's sock I had kept in my pocket all those months back. I knew I was not mad, as I had found proof of my memories being true. I shouted out to Kathy to come and see this. She came running into the bedroom. I had tears in my eyes, but I was happy. I shouted and said, see, this is Abby's sock. I remember keeping this in my pocket and it is here. See, I am not mad. Abby is real, Carol is real, and I need to find them. Kathy looked at me and shouted that enough is enough. Now you have to choose between your false memories or me. I can't take this anymore. I looked at her and said, Abby is not a false memory, she is my baby girl. Kathy turned around. The next thing I saw was her leaving with her bag. I did not try and stop her, and neither did she stop. I went down to the police station to lodge a missing person complaint about Abby and Carol, but they would not. They asked me to show some proof that they existed. When I showed them the sock, they asked me to go back home and rest. I had already tried searching for Abby and Carol every way possible. I did not have any pictures of them, but I could see them clearly in my memories. I went back home and did not know what to do. The excitement of finding Abby's sock soon became into sadness. A few more days passed and all I did was drink while sitting on the bed thinking of Abby and Carol. All I wanted was to be able to see them once. I heard the doorbell. When I opened the door it was my father. He came in and sat next to me on the bed. He asked me how I was doing now that Kathy had left. I picked up Abby's sock and handed it to him. I said, "This is your granddaughter's sock and I am going to find her." He looked at me and said, "Son, in your memories I was dead right. How did you feel when it happened?" I said, "I remember getting a call at work that you had a heart attack and were serious. I rushed to the hospital but I was too late, you were gone before I reached. I felt like my world had stopped and I could feel all the pain in it." My father said, "That's how I feel when I see you like this. You need to leave these memories behind and make a new life for yourself. It does not matter if they were true or not, they are just a memory now and you must move on in life. Find a way to live for yourself." And then he left. I drank myself to sleep holding on to Abby's sock and what my father had told me. Next morning the house phone rang and when I answered the voice from the other side said that your father has had a heart attack, you need to come down soon. I dropped the phone and left for the hospital. When I reached there, the doctor told me that he was sorry, I was too late and my dad did not make it. The next day we had his funeral. My neighbor Jeff was there, so was Kathy. After the funeral, I tried to talk to Kathy but she did not let me speak and left. A few more days passed. I could not recall the last time I ate, slept, or had a bath. I knew it had been a while I had spoken to another human. Jeff did come to try and talk to me a few times but he would leave after ringing the doorbell a couple of times. All I did was drink and tried to forget everything that had happened. The more I tried to forget the more I remembered Abby and Carol. I had lost everything. I saw my father die twice, I lost my child, my wife, and even my identity was lost. John Brooks was just a fragmentation of my imagination. In the real world he did not exist, Abby did not exist and neither did Carol. I did not know how to go on any longer. I did not want to go on. I could only see one end to this depression. So I went to the kitchen and turned the gas on. Then I went and poured out a glass of wine for myself and went to the bedroom. As I lay drinking the glass of wine I could smell the gas fill the entire house, but I was not scared. Maybe for the first time in months I was not scared of what was happening. I turned over to the table next to the bed. Near the table clock, there was a lighter. This was my dad's lighter. He forgot it the last time he came. I picked it up in one hand and in the other I had Abby's sock. I held onto the sock with all my life while I struck a light. In a flash there was a loud blast and wherever I could see there was only fire, but I felt no pain. All I felt was freedom, freedom from this lie I was living. Everything was dark and in the darkness I could hear Carol's voice saying, "Wake up, you have a client call, wake up." I opened my eyes and saw the clock kept on the table. It was almost 9 a.m. I could hear Carol's voice coming from Abby's room. I got up slowly. On the floor I saw my blue jacket. I picked it up and Abby's sock was in the pocket. I threw the jacket on the bed and ran towards Abby's room. There I saw Carol changing Abby's clothes. I ran towards Abby and picked her up in my arms and kissed her on her cheeks and on her nose. She smiled at me, and then I hugged and kissed Carol. She said, "Seems like your birthday changed you. 1 year older and now you love your family more than your work. Are you not getting late for your client call?" She smiled at me as she took Abby from my arms and said, "Get dressed, you don't want to miss the call." As she moved away she said, "But remember to come back soon. Today we have to go to your father's place for lunch. And please don't cancel it. You know how much he loves Abby and likes having us over. Come back soon." I looked at her with a smile on my face. The end.